Welcome to The Other Side, Mississippi Today's political podcast. The Other Side lets you hear directly from the most connected players and observers across the spectrum of politics in Mississippi. From breaking news to political strategy to interviews with candidates and elected officials, we'll bring you facts, perspectives, and context that helps you cut through the noise and understand all sides of the story.
I'm Bobby Harrison. I'm here with my colleague, Adam Ganucheau. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Bobby. How's it going?
Good. Adam, we have as our guest this week, State Senator David Blount from Jackson. Senator Blount, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be with you.
Thank you for doing this. Senator Blount is involved in he represents Jackson, the Hinds County area in the state Senate. He's a chairman of the gaming committee, but he's involved in he's a vice chair of education. So we want to talk to him about several things in the upcoming session. Senator Blount, what do you see as the big issues in the coming session?
Well, judging by a lot of what's going on in the news and the committee meetings that are being held in the off season, I think it's going to be whether or not we continue to make progress in a bipartisan way with public education, which we have done, whether we consider protecting our retirement system, which is critical to hundreds of thousands of people in the state. And then there are people, particularly on the House side, who are still interested in further tax cuts, and we'll have to debate that. So those are, I would say, the top three things in terms of issues we will be looking at.
Yeah, those could all be huge issues, but let's start with the taxes. Okay. Of course, Governor Blount, the House leadership are sort of dead set on, I guess, phasing out the income tax, which is one of the state's biggest revenue streams. And the lieutenant governor, in a sense, your boss, even though I don't think that's the appropriate word, but the presiding officer in your chamber. So
he's the presiding officer.
Lieutenant Governor Hoseman is very interested in at least reducing the grocery tax. And I actually don't. I'm asking a question I know the answer to, so maybe that's not a good thing. But I assume that you, at least in principle, would also support a reduction in the state's grocery tax. It's the largest in the nation, a real sort of a burden for poor people to pay. What's your thoughts on that? The flip side is, of course, Mississippi needs a lot of money to deal with some of those other issues we'll be talking about in the next few minutes.
Well, of the two tax cuts that have been proposed, the grocery tax cut is the better tax cut. And as you know, I worked on that 30 years ago in the governor's campaign. It is the better way to go. However, I would say that in the past 6 or 7 years, the legislature has not done that. The legislature has passed two tax cuts totaling more than $1 billion.
Plus a lot of small ones, too. You sometimes get overlooked.
Yeah, that's right. And those tax cuts haven't even been fully phased in yet.
Yeah.
So what we need to do before we consider any further tax cuts is pay our bills. And that starts with the retirement system. The actions taken by the majority in the legislature this year harmed the retirement system. It is a fact that has been published by the state peer committee, which has 12 legislators, 10 of whom are Republican. And we took the funded ratio for the retirement system from 66% to 49%. And that was the wrong thing to do. That is an obligation that the state of Mississippi owes. And before we consider any more tax cuts, we need to make sure our financial house is in order so we can pay our bills. And the one-time money that we got from the federal government is going away. And everybody knows it. And every state in the country is experiencing revenue slowdowns because of the loss of one-time federal money, when there is still remaining work to be done on infrastructure in this state, and we're going to have to pay for it by ourselves if it's going to get done. So, in my opinion, we don't need any further tax cuts. We need to take care of our responsibilities. We've got some of the lowest income taxes in the country. We've got some of the lowest business taxes in the country, and we've got needs in this state with education, with infrastructure, and the retirement system.
Would you say the retirement system concerns are sort of very top of mind as you're thinking about what those financial needs are?
Oh, well, for me, they are. I think what I saw last year in the session with the retirement system was weakening the retirement system because people didn't want to face the reality that we owe this money, and our retirees and the people who are working out there depend on it. Now, what we ought to do as a state, if we think we have money in the bank, and we do have one-time money in the bank right now, which is this is unprecedented in the state of Mississippi. And let's remember when Governor Barber was in office and Governor Blount was in office, they were both forced on multiple occasions to make mid-year cuts because the money wasn't coming in. And we're going to get back to those years pretty soon. But if we have money in the bank right now, what we ought to do is cover the retirement cost for our cities and counties. They came to the legislature last year and talked about how it was going to be tough on them to increase the percentage that they pay toward the retirement system, and they're right. And so before the legislature starts giving away tax cuts, we need to help our cities and counties, which helps taxpayers because property taxes are going to have to go up, and protect our retirees and the people paying in the system because, again, long-term, that's a debt the state's going to have to pay. And the longer we wait to face that reality, the more it's going to cost.
And I mean, the retirement system is such an overwhelming thing in the state. I mean, roughly 10% of the population is a member of the retirement system, and that's not even counting their family members who are also
family members, children, people like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're not in the retirement system, your eyes just may glaze over. But it's such an important thing for the state's economy as well. I mean, it
pours billions of dollars into the economy. And if you're not in the retirement system, you as a taxpayer of the state of Mississippi are still responsible for that. And so you need to face that reality because we're all going to have to pay that contractual obligation that we have to our retirees and the people who went to work for city, county, school district, understanding that they had this commitment for retirement.
Yeah, and I guess, Adam, maybe it should be pointed out that Senator Blount, a long time ago, it was decided that legislators could not serve on executive boards. That was a violation of the separation of powers. But legislators do now serve as sort of liaisons on various boards and sort of they're not a voting member. They don't have any power to vote, but they sit and listen. And Senator Blount is one of 4 legislators who are liaisons to the retirement system board.
That's right. So I've been going to the board meetings. The new senator serving with me is Senator Daniel Sparks from Belmont and Representative John Reed and Carl Oliver. When we go to the meetings, and so we hear from the actuaries. We have a good sense of what's going on.
Just generally on the income tax cut, just one more question about that. I mean, we're talking about these needs, infrastructure, obviously retirement system. You travel the state a lot. Certainly, you are in constant touch with people in your district. We do have a lot of one-time money right now. That's something that a lot of the Republican leaders love to boast at any given opportunity. But, I mean, I find it rare to find any Mississippian of any sort of political leaning who would say that the state is funding government services to a quality level right now. And, we're talking about an income tax cut, which the income tax makes up close to a third of the state's general fund revenue every year.
That's right, a little more than $2 billion.
You mentioned this, but in administrations past, governors had to make mid-year budget cuts because we weren't bringing in the revenue that we had budgeted for. So that means further cuts to the services that probably aren't already being performed adequately. What do you just make of this theory? I mean, it's really a theory. No state in America has totally undone or eliminated an income tax that they had on the books. We would be the first. There seems to be a very real push now from the governor's office and the speaker's office, at least, to do this. I mean, what is your take on this, really? I mean, eliminating the income tax, what would that really mean for Mississippi?
It would devastate the budget. And when we get out of this COVID-infused economy that we've been in, we're not going to be able to do the basic things we need to do. The other thing is every city and every county in this state was desperate for infrastructure, and they got help. They got help because of the Biden-Harris administration and Congressman Benny Thompson and the Democrats in Washington who sent money to Mississippi to deal with these infrastructure needs that needed to be addressed and weren't being addressed by the state. And so every ribbon cutting for water and sewer and roads and bridges that were paid for with ARPA money, the people in those cities and counties need to thank Congressman Thompson and the Biden-Harris administration for sending that federal money to meet that need because the state was not meeting it. And now that federal money is going away. I think I will say I think the legislature spent that money wisely, and we had a plan. And I don't. While it wasn't perfect, I think we spent that one-time money on one-time needs that were desperately needed. But that money is going to go away. But those needs are not going to go away, and so that's why this is the worst possible time to be considering further tax cuts, because everybody knows that we've received billions of dollars in money from the federal government because of COVID and infrastructure work from the Biden-Harris administration that's going to go away. And those needs are going to remain, and this is not a time to be messing with our tax system.
Changing gears just a little bit, in the opening you discussed education. The legislature changed the funding formula to fund education. It was a dramatic change, but in the end, the formula that y'all adopted is in a sense kind of like the old formula, and there's an objective method of determining how much money the school system should receive.
That's right.
And there was a commitment by the leadership of the House who was pushing this formula to fund it. So that's going to be another. I mean, I think that's going to be an extra $50 million or so this coming session that will have to go into the formula.
Yeah, that's right. I think. Look, we have made great progress in Mississippi in recent years in a bipartisan way, and Republicans and Democrats deserve credit for this. And we passed a new funding formula last year that started with Republican leadership in the House that I voted for, that I think we ended up, and thanks to, we have a very good chairman, I believe, on our side, and Senator DeBar, but we ended up in a good place with a good formula. And the result of that is, and the governor signed it, and the result of that is it's going to cost more money and it's going to increase equity for our public schools, and that's what they said they wanted. So let's do that. And there was a time when public education at the Capitol was very much a partisan fight. I know, Bobby, you remember those years very well. That's kind of what made me run for office in the first place. But we've gotten past that. And there is, I believe, a strong number of Republicans in the legislature who want to support our public schools, who voted for that formula, that see the academic progress and the acclaim that Mississippi has gotten. And we need to do that. And we don't need to go back and to where this is partisan, where we're slashing budgets. And I think if we hold this coalition together, we can continue to make progress. Or if people want to blow it up, then I think it's going to jeopardize what we've done.
But I understand what you're saying about the partisan fights not being in the same vein that they were several years ago. But there still could be a partisan fight shaping up over the education issue of of vouchers.
I think that there is. I mean, I sense there are disagreements within the Republican Party of legislators who want to do vouchers and what do you call it, school choice, which I think to me has never been very well defined by the proponents of it. But if by school choice you mean that the state pays roughly $6,600 for a student in public schools, so therefore we're going to give a voucher for that same amount of money for a parent to pay private school tuition with, or to homeschool their child, or to send their child to a parochial school, you're going to spend more than $500 million. I mean, just do the math, take the number of students, multiply that times 6,600, find out what that number is going to be. That's what it's going to cost. And also conservatives who are keenly aware of the impact of government spending, what do you think is going to happen to tuition at a private school when somebody gets a voucher for $6,600? I think it's going to go up by about $6,600. I think that's what's going to happen. That has been what has happened in other states. I don't think we need to go there. I think again we've made progress. I mean, I've been to conferences with the House and Senate Republican leaders on education, and people come up to our table and want to talk about the good things happening in Mississippi, and it's really encouraging. And that's where we need to be. And if we do that, I think our students will continue to excel.
Senator Blount, you're obviously, as mentioned, the gaming chair, the chairman of the gaming committee in the Senate. I'm going to wade us into a dangerous place this morning because I don't like this world. But the sports message boards. I'm a big sports fan, as you are too.
Okay.
I think we're going to talk a little bit about that before we go too. But I was reading one of the Ole Miss message boards this week actually, and there's a thread on there about mobile sports betting that came up, and I want to read you a post that somebody with the moniker Capital City Reb 18, Mr. I'm sure rational thinker here.
You never know what kind of questions you're going to get on the podcast.
That's right. Somebody asked sort of what happened with Mississippi mobile sports betting. Several people kind of thought that there was this last session. There was a big push for it. A lot of people clearly were under the impression that had passed, but it did not. And I want to just read you this post. David Blount and some other Dems in the state legislature killed it because there could be some casino jobs lost. A lot of other people are pontificating about what really happened with that bill, but I just kind of wanted to ask you while we got you, what happened with that bill, with that legislation this past session? What sort of led to its death? And then just secondly, what generally do you think about mobile sports betting in Mississippi, and do you think that we should implement it, new potential revenue maker, or what are some of the downfalls of it?
First of all, you may explain how sports betting works in Mississippi for the person who doesn't know,
sure.
who doesn't bet on a regular basis like Adam, other people might.
And I don't either. But this is a real issue. And I mean, I don't mean to be flippant about it. It is a real issue. There was a lot of work done this session. I would disagree with the post. I have not seen anything partisan about this issue. I mean, gaming issues historically in the legislature have not been partisan at all.
Also hilarious that anyone thinks that a coalition of Dems can really block any piece of legislation. If Republicans wanted to pass it, they could pass it.
Yeah. So we have sports betting in Mississippi at the casino. So there are people who would like to have sports betting on their phones. Most states have some form of sports betting, mobile sports betting on their phones. I think if Mississippi did not have a well-established, successful casino industry, we'd have sports betting on our phones right now in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that we do, and those casinos employ tens of thousands of Mississippians and are a major economic driver in our state. And this is an important difference about casinos. And the reason we have casinos in Mississippi as opposed to betting on your phone is they are tourism destinations, particularly the Gulf Coast, which is so important.
You got to drive through those like casino parking garages down there. You're seeing license plates from all over the region.
And so mobile sports betting on your phone by definition is going to 99% be used by the people who reside in that state, whatever the state is. We have casinos in Mississippi, and that was long before I got elected, to grow our economy and to bring new people and new investment and tourists to Mississippi. And they employ a lot of people. So it's important that we listen to those concerns, particularly, and this is something that I didn't used to think was a real threat, but I'm now convinced that it is other states, including Arkansas and other states, have seen mobile sports betting lead into what is called iGaming. And that is not just betting on the ball game on your phone, but playing poker on your phone, playing slots on your phone, playing craps or blackjack on your phone. There are states in this country that have that, and there are increasing pushes in other states to expand that. I'm against that. I think that would be bad for the state and bad for the gaming and hospitality industry in our state. So how to balance protecting our bricks and mortar casinos and the jobs that they create with people having sports betting and only sports betting, not iGaming, not other table games and things like that. That's something that we're going to continue to talk about. We did work on it this year. We didn't get it figured out, but we're going to continue to talk about it in the upcoming session.
It sounded like there was a coalition of some of the smaller casinos that they're not part of the big conglomerates that already have big sports books, like MGM that owns the Beau Rivage, for instance. Right. And some of those smaller casinos were expressing, it sounded like some concern about sort of the fairness of adopting, mobile sports betting when some of those bigger companies that are based out of state may benefit more than the local casinos.
Yeah, you've got and we had a study committee on this last year, bipartisan study committee, had the peer committee do a study. You've got basically 4 apps that control 80% of the 90% of the market, and 2 that control about 80% of the market. And if you have a relationship with one of those apps, you're probably for it. And if you don't, then you're probably not. And how much of your money are you going to make off the phones, and how much money are you dependent on for foot traffic?
Yeah,
kind of dictates your position on that.
I do think, though, I mean, we know this. I know this. It may be anecdotal. I don't have the data in front of me, but how many people are using bookies sort of on the black market underground illegally, no tax revenues coming through that way? How many people are driving across state lines to park at a rest area in Louisiana to place it on their phones? I do think that there's revenue to be had, but I think point well taken about sort of wanting to get it right.
Well, and the other thing I would say about revenue is if we do this, it will be because the people of Mississippi want it and we figured out the right way to do it. But don't tell me you want to eliminate the income tax and we got to pass this because we're going to make $30 or $40 million in revenue. I mean, that's not. Don't tell me that you want to eliminate $2 billion out of the state budget and we got to have this for $30 or $40 million for infrastructure. That's not a legitimate reason to do it. If we're considering this, and we are considering it because many people want to do it, and we just got to get it right.
So, and Senator Blount, we promised we would get you out here in a reasonable amount of time. So, but I do want to, since we're kind of talking sports, expand the conversation a little bit. You are perhaps has been one of the biggest supporters of professional baseball in Mississippi that I know, for going back with the old Houston Astros franchise that played in there on Lakeland Drive, and now the Mississippi Braves that played out in Pearl. I know when the Braves first came to Pearl, it took you a little while to get on board because you were such an Astros fan, but you became a regular
fan.
I was a Mississippi Braves fan, but my major league loyalty remains with Houston.
But what just your thoughts on the Mississippi Braves played their last game? I think you were at the game.
I was there, yeah.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on professional baseball in Mississippi?
Well, I started going to Jackson Mets games when I was 12 years old, and I was a season ticket holder.
And those were kind of the glory days of.
We had a lot of good players back then, and I was a season ticket holder for the Jackson Mets. At that time, you could buy a little card, and it was $50. And if you were in middle school, you could get in for every game all season for $50. And Jackson Mets, Jackson Generals, who of course were the AA affiliate of the Astros, the Jackson Senators, which was an independent team, which was doing well, and then the Mississippi Braves from day one, all 20 years. And so it was a sad day to lose AA baseball, and we saw most valuable players. We saw players go straight from Pearl to Atlanta. We saw Rookie of the Year. I mean, it was so it's a hard thing to lose them. But I am excited and optimistic about the Frontier League. I mean, this league has been around for more than 30 years. It's established. The quality of baseball is not going to be AA baseball, but it's going to be quality baseball. And I'm planning to be a season ticket holder for the new team.
Oh, also, we still have some professional baseball down the coast too. You can check out the Biloxi
the Shuckers. I listened to the Braves and the Shuckers on the radio last night, and Biloxi has. Milwaukee's doesn't get a lot of credit, but they've had some very good teams, and a lot of those players came through Biloxi.
That's right.
So, and I've been to that ballpark. It's a great ballpark, and part of the tourism mix down there on the coast. But so I'm excited about the Frontier League. I went and met the owner this weekend. It's not a fly-by-night league. The geography is going to be challenging, but with good ownership and good management, quality baseball, it's still going to be a fun thing to do on a summer night.
Senator Blount, appreciate your time, and we'll be talking to you more hopefully during the upcoming session.
Always happy to talk to you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Senator. As we cover the biggest political stories in the state, you don't want to miss an episode of The Other Side. We'll bring you more reporting from every corner of the state, sharing the voices of Mississippians and how they are impacted by the news. So what do we need from you, the listener? We need your feedback and support. If you listen to the podcast on a player like iTunes or Stitcher, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That address is podcast@MississippiToday.org. Y'all can also reach out to me or any of my colleagues through social media or email. And as always, thank you for your feedback and support. Subscribe to our weekly podcast on your favorite podcast app or stream episodes online at MississippiToday.org/theotherside. For the Mississippi Today team, I'm Adam Ganucheau. The Other Side is produced by Mississippi Today and engineered by Blue Sky Studios. We hope you'll join us for our next episode.